When we think of the open road, we usually think of freedom, right? But for the long-haul truckers who practically live out there, those huge, quiet stretches between cities, well, they can hide a totally different kind of reality. Tonight, we're jumping into three pretty chilling first-hand accounts that show you just how the highway can become a hunting ground. And that right there, that's our first driver. With just that one line, you're immediately dropped right into the middle of one of those encounters that truckers, they might not talk about it much, but you can bet they never, ever forget it. Okay, let's set the scene for this first one. It's 2 o'clock in the morning at a totally isolated rest stop on Interstate 10. Picture it, it's pitch black except for this weak, kind of yellowish glow from a couple of lights. The only sound is the desert wind. There are just two trucks, parked way far apart. Our driver pulls in, locks up, and settles into what feels like absolute silence.
But then, he hears something. A weird, muffled thudding sound coming from that other truck. Now, here's the detail that sets off all the alarm bells. A detail only another pro would catch. The refrigerated truck's cooling unit, it's off. No engine hum, no vibration. So what in the world is making that sound from inside a sealed, silent container?
So as he's trying to wrap his head around this noise, a pickup truck rolls into the rest stop, and it's moving way, way too slow. It makes this big, deliberate loop and parks right behind his trailer, completely pinning him in. And in that instant, his gut feeling turns into this cold, hard certainty. That banging sound wasn't an accident. It was bait.
And just like that, the whole calculated trap just lays itself out in his mind. The lure, that weird sound designed to get him out of his cab. The blockade, that pickup cutting off his only way out. He knows exactly what comes next, the ambush, and then the takeover. This isn't some random act of violence. It's a cold, methodical plan.
He scrambles back into the cab, slamming the locks just as a man from the pickup gets to him. The first blow hits the passenger window. And it's not a punch, no. This is the solid thud of a heavy metal tool. The attack is brutally efficient.
The glass doesn't just shatter. Instead, this spiderweb of cracks explodes across the surface. It's like a visual countdown to his only defense failing. He's frantically turning the key. The diesel engine is roaring to life, but he is running out of time, fast.
And the second strike is just devastating. Glass explodes into the cab. The attacker is trying to reach in for the inner door handle, but the engine's on. Our driver doesn't even think. He just slams the truck into gear, yanks the wheel hard, and just guns it, powering right out of the trap, leaving them standing there in a cloud of gravel and dust.
Okay, so that first attack was brutal, right? A full-on frontal assault. This next case, it shows how the danger can be way more subtle. The driver is Travis Cole, and he's on a deserted stretch of highway in Nevada when he sees a guy stranded next to his car. Travis does what he calls the only human decision and pulls over to help. Once they're inside the cab, the friendly silence gets broken in the most chilling way. The passenger doesn't just mention that Travis has a daughter, he says her full name. Just stop and think about that for a second. There's no family picture on the dash, zero clues. The information is just delivered with this cold, detached accuracy, like he's reading it from a file.
And the psychological pressure just keeps building. The passenger isn't making threats. Not really. He's demonstrating what he's capable of by describing Travis's home, the fence, the family dog. Every single detail is this quiet, calculated show of power, proving he's been watched and turning the cab of that truck into a cage on wheels.
And then the mask just completely drops. It's not a question of how he knows this stuff anymore. It's a statement. He's making it crystal clear. This was never random. Travis was studied, he was targeted, and his own predictable routine was turned into a weapon against him.
And as if things weren't already at a boiling point, Travis spots it. The man shifts his leg, his pant leg rides up just enough, and there it is, a narrow knife tucked right into his boot. It's not just a weapon, it's placed there for quick, easy access. The threat is now very, very real, and it's sitting 2 feet away from him.
So here's the impossible choice Travis is facing. Barreling down a dark highway at 90 kilometers an hour. What do? Slam on the brakes, and you could lose control of the whole rig and pretty much guarantee an immediate attack? But if you keep driving, you're just heading deeper into nowhere, giving the guy with the knife all the time in the world to make his move.
So our first 2 stories were traps set on the open road. This last case shows you how sometimes the danger is already waiting for you at your destination. It starts with a totally routine instruction. A driver named Caleb Turner is told to park his rig for the night in this isolated yard, a decision that would put him in the fight for his life.
The very first thing Caleb notices is something that's off. The company records say there are no nighttime operations scheduled for this yard, but the main gate is wide open. It's a small detail, right? But it's a question just hanging there in the air, a little alarm bell suggesting something's wrong before he's even turned off his engine. And check out how fast this all unravels. At 11 o'clock, he sees two men moving cargo they clearly shouldn't be. 5 minutes later, one of them spots him, just stares right at his truck. A minute after that, Caleb glances in his mirror and sees that the gate, the one that was wide open, is now chained and padlocked shut. He's trapped, and a man is walking toward him. A pickup truck's headlights flash on, ready to cut him off in the narrow yard. Caleb knows he can't outmaneuver that smaller, faster vehicle. In that split second, he realizes his only advantage, his only weapon, is the sheer, brutal mass and momentum of his 18-wheeler.
So he just floors it, aiming straight for that locked gate. The impact is this violent crunch of metal on metal. The padlock and chain just snap under the insane force of the truck. He scrapes through the opening, dragging a chunk of the fence with him, and bursts back out onto the state highway, leaving whatever was happening back there in his rearview mirror. So, after hearing all that, what do we actually take away from these three harrowing stories? I mean, they're not just suspenseful tales, they're basically case studies in threat assessment, situational awareness, and ultimately survival out on the road. And you can see the patterns pretty clearly, right? The isolation of that I-10 rest stop wasn't peaceful, it was a vulnerability. Your instincts are crucial. Caleb seeing that open gate, our first driver hearing that silent refrigerator, those were the signals. Curiosity, as that first trap proved, can be a huge liability. And in every single case, the threat was calculated. In the end, survival came down to these split-second decisions where the truck itself became both a fortress and a weapon.
And that brings us back to where we started, to the one question that just haunted that first driver. He got away, he survived, but he was left with this chilling unknown. It's a question that reminds us that out on those endless stretches of highway, some doors are probably better left closed, and some silences are best left unexplained.